All right, Mike Swenson here with Real Freedom, and today we have a wonderful guest here talking about finding freedom through the opportunities in real estate. So today we've got Craddock here, and he's going to share a little bit about his journey, where he's at, what he did leading up to today, and where he's looking to go in the future. So Chris, if you want to go ahead and just introduce yourself and give us a little bit of overview of what you have in the hopper right now.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'd love to just, I'll give a 2-minute kind of how I got to where I am. So I started off, got married in 2000. 2003, my wife got pregnant and I was working for an organization called Young Life. I loved it. It was awesome. It was incredible. But I made 20 grand a year in the DC area. And that is not, my wife wanted to stay home and we wanted her to stay home and raise the kids. And living on 20 grand a year in the DC area does not work. And so I went to the library and just started looking at every book they had, because it was before Google was like the fount of all information, and checked out every book they had on real estate investing, and literally just almost like an idiot, just went and knocked on doors and found distressed properties, knocked on doors, and in about 4 months, I made 12 times what I made in a year. I ended up, we bought the house we live in now, although we're building another house down the road currently. But we bought the house we live in now, and just kind of lived on that. I continued doing ministry stuff for a number of years, but now I've got 6 kids. And as we started having more kids, it got harder and harder to live on the income we had and the money that we'd put away and some of the other stuff that we were doing. And so I started investing again in the, early 2010s, 2011, I guess it was. And, I bought a rental property in 2008. And we can talk about that here. I know we will in just a little bit. And then in 2011, I started flipping houses again. And I had always just led large teams when I did ministry, like large teams. I go back to school and gotten a doctorate in leadership. And I read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, the Red Book, Gary Keller's Red Book. And it just it spoke my language to me. And so I think it was December 2014, we moved from the investment side to really going all in and launching a residential retail side. And so last year we did 409 transactions, 119 million, 800 in volume. This year we already have pended and closed over what we did all of last year. And hopefully we're going to, on and off market, we were hoping to get to 600, although I think we're going to be a little bit shy of that. So that's where we're at.
Awesome. Congratulations on all that success. That's a lot in the hopper, and we'll dig in too, because you've got a lot of other streams of income that you're working on as well. So before we get into that and pick that apart a little bit more, talk about your future. So when you think about, financial freedom, what does that mean to you? For some people, it's a number. For some people, it's an amount coming in per month. But it's really about freedom of choice, being able to choose how you spend your time versus maybe making decisions based on money or based on what you can and can't do. So what do you think about when you think about kind of that end game for you? What's that look like?
Yeah, brother. See, that's a great question. And actually, one of the side pieces that we started a while ago was our insurance company, because of the fact I wanted to find a way to build a passive book of business, find a way to build stuff passively. But with it, kind of my big dream and my big goal was by the time I was 50, I wanted to have $13 million worth of paid off real estate. And as we reverse engineered it here in this area, $13 million of paid off real estate works out to, after you have vacancies, after you have maintenance costs, and after I pay somebody else to manage it for me, and it may be my own company, but I don't want to manage it. I'll just tell you on that nets $1 million a year. And so as I was looking at it, I'm like, I know that everybody says there's no such thing as passive income, but I don't believe that. Like that is not true. If you hire other people and hire well and have them take care of the rentals, manage it well, then passively $1 million a year should come in, and that's it. So that's kind of the goal that I've built around that piece. Just having a passive annuity that will pay out $1 million a year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you've also put a lot of intentionality into that too. And so, some people might decide, hey, I want to invest in something over here and something over here and something over here and something over here. For you, the consistency is it's all in the real estate industry. and you're really looking at, when you had talked to me, it said, instead of getting paid once on a transaction, how can you get paid multiple times? And so it's really being efficient with your work, right? Where you're not having to do something differently, but you're really looking at, we're in real estate, so how do I just build on top of that? So why don't we walk through a little bit of how you thought to get to that endpoint and how you're achieving that through each stream?
Yeah, absolutely. So so obviously we have the transaction piece, but that is it. It's transactional, right? So I get paid on the transaction piece. Well, we also started a title company. I don't even remember how many years ago, because the bottom line is we were looking at joint ventures. We were looking at just so many different opportunities. And one of my really good friends is an attorney, built a really fast growing law firm. And so we were actually the crazy thing, and this is also part of it too, is you want to go into business with people that you like. And I remember, regardless of what you think about him, Gary Keller is one of the smartest people in the real estate industry. And I love what he said is, you can have as many businesses as you want, as long as there's a face on the front of each business that's not yours, right? Like, it needs to be somebody else that is that driving force. And so, and that person, you really need to think about who you're going into business with, because it is a partnership there. And so, my friend Ben and I we were actually serving in a church, making dinner for the young adults. Again, that shows like this, the signaling there is, it's somebody else that's giving outside of himself. He has a generous mindset, generous spirit, just the right kind of person that you'd want to be in business with. And now there's more to it than that, but it's just one of those things that signals that he's the right person. So we were making dinner and we were just talking, and title came up, and I was in the process of looking how I could monetize that, because like I said, a business coach of mine said this. He's like, why would you get paid once when you could get paid 5 times? Why would you, just get more clients when you can get more of each client in a RESPA compliant way, right? And so, right. So that's the whole quick disclaimer, but that's the whole idea there. And so we started that, and that started running, so we get paid there. I started our insurance company, and the reason the insurance company started was because, I realized that, every single time, like I do a transaction, I get paid. Well, insurance, the crazy thing about it is you don't make much on the first transaction, but you build a book of business that will continue to pay no matter what, even when you don't do anything. Now, it will atrophy, it'll shrink over time, but you can build a massive, massive book of business that will have residual income that just pays over and over and over again. And so we built out that. Then, obviously I've talked about the rental income. We built that. We have flips, because if you're in real estate, you are going to get access to deals, right? Why would you only give it to other people? Do some of your own deals, right? And keep some of your own deals. Keep the best, flip the rest, right? Get rid of the rest. And so you might as well do that. It's just another stream of income right there. And then I also have a construction company. Right. So the construction company, and I've got all these buddies that, some of my buddies do a massive amount of business, and they have like punch out companies and stuff where for home inspections and stuff. But here's what I found. All of them, and I've got a number of friends that are doing that. Every time I talk to them, they're always like, man, we're this close to becoming profitable. We just need a little more. And actually, you and I were just talking about that, right? The low volume or high volume, low margin. And, but literally for years, they've been this close to becoming profitable. All they need is a little bit more business. And so for us, we just decided we're not doing the punch out stuff. We're only doing like kitchens, bathrooms, additions, pop tops, stuff like that, where it's high margin, deals. So to give you an example, it's like a bathroom, like my master bathroom that I did, it cost $13,000 to do that. My neighbor had it done. They took pictures and had exactly what we did when we posted on Facebook for like $52,000. So it's like massive margins in that. It takes like 3 weeks to do it, right? So there's high margin. And then the last thing, there's also stuff that we do with mortgage as well, just relationships there. And then the last thing is LegalShield, which I'll tell you, LegalShield is amazing. Every single person that buys a house needs to have a will. And talk about residual income. It's just incredible. I also had a client of mine who he bought a new build. There was a crack in the foundation. He called me and he's like, hey, they said they took care of it. Now my sheetrock is ruined. My carpet's ruined. Everything is ruined. And they said, that I'm no longer under warranty. So I got him signed up for LegalShield. The attorney called him, and magically this thing that was no longer under warranty, when they got a call from an attorney, they're fixing it. And the cool thing is I make more money from LegalShield than I do from my insurance company. And it's just unreal. So anyway, those are the kind of the different streams that I have currently, although I do have some others that we're working on, but those are the current streams that we're working on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think the key there is, you're leveraging relationships that you already have, both with clients and with vendors. You're leveraging all the time and knowledge that you've gained to learn real estate, to understand the market, to understand the values of properties in certain areas, what the fix-up costs and are all there. And you're using that in every single area of your life and of your business. And so you're not having to go learn something new or learn a brand new industry. You're just doubling down on your knowledge in every area.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's it. It's just the synergistic business model. And what I love about it is I've got a number of friends that get successful in one area and then they go start a restaurant, which is fine. I mean, it's fine, but it doesn't feed each other. All of my businesses can become profitable based on my real estate business, right? And so, I'm a big reader. Well, more listen. I listen to a book a week on Audible, but Jim Collins, when he talks about good to great, he talks about that flywheel. You push it and push it. And then once it starts spinning, it keeps going. You got that momentum, right? But the best part about the flywheel is that flywheel spits off so much other business. You might as well just capture that business. As long as you're doing it well and RESPA compliant, you might as well just capture it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So as we think about growth, then, there's a few different ways that we can have leverage. We can have leverage through efficiency. So figuring out how to work smarter, not harder, spending your time in more higher dollar areas. We also have leverage through people, whether it's admin staff, whether it's, other people that are leveraging your time to be for you to do more of what you love and for them to do more of what they love. And then two, thinking about leveraging technology. So as you think about your different businesses that you have, how have you experienced those different areas of leverage to help you get where you want to go financially?
Oh, brother, that is the biggest piece right there. Is even my own personal, like real estate business, it was so hard to give away. Right now, I rarely work with buyers, right? To give that away. And then, then now it's like a piece of cake. Then I rarely work with sellers at this point because I'm working on the business more than in the business. But it still was so hard to give that away. And then I just keep looking over and over and over again where all these bottlenecks always ended up occurring. And it was from me. It was from me because I did one of two things. And I don't know if this speaks to other entrepreneurs. One, I would just give it away to people with no manual, no system, no anything. Take this big pile of crap and deal with it, make it pretty. And then it just stayed a big pile of crap because I didn't give enough guidance or whatever. And I'm like, I figured it out. You figured it out. It was never quite that crass, but that was kind of the deal. Or the other side was I just held on to it too long. And so literally taking the time, and I know you're a systems guy, so this is probably your language, right? Taking the time to work with the people that are good with systems, right? Because I'm built differently than you are if you're a systems guy, right? I'm built differently than my guy David, who is a systems guy, than my girl Lena, who's a systems girl. I'm built differently than them. So when we can collaborate together to get the goal plus a real color by numbers system outlook on how to build that piece of the business, that's when you can set people up for success. And I think about McDonald's, right? McDonald's is $1 billion business built on the backs of 16-year-olds without a high school degree, right? Because like they don't figure out, they don't guess at what a number one looks like, right? They don't guess on that. If they guessed, it would really be pretty nasty. It's systematized. No matter where you go, a number one is a number one. And so for me, what we did, I'll just share the progression of leverage. If that's what, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, so this is what happened. I started giving away my buyers. That step one, giving away my buyers. And this happened when I had literally in one morning, I lost $50,000 worth of commission because a bunch of people fired me because I had too many clients and I couldn't keep up with them all. And they should have fired me. I was being terrible. I was not keeping up. They were always calling me first, which is a big rule in our company, is if the client ever calls you first, you're not doing your job. So they were always calling me first. They were asking, like, literally, I was terrible. And they should have fired me. And so right away after that, I'm like, okay. So I worked out a split with one of the agents on my team. I helped her a lot, get better at her craft. And she started leveling up like crazy. And I essentially gave her all my buyers at that time. So she got better. We worked them together, and, you know, she handled them. I closed them up on the phone or one time and then handed them to her. And then I'd be involved in the negotiating and just stuff where I could do it from the phone in like an hour or two, because then, I mean, I was in my 20%, right? You know, in a small area, but I wasn't out showing houses all the time. And then the next step was I was only doing listings. Well, the next phase for that was I learned how to close listings over the phone like a champ. Like, this was pre-COVID. Like I literally was not going to houses to see houses. I would close them over the phone. Boom, it was done. Well, a lot of people, they would close, and I wasn't spending enough time to you know, keep that going well. And I realized I started losing clients because, again, it's this whole like process where I stopped doing a good job. So the next thing we realized was I need help. So we got another assistant that literally we paid her a base and we paid her a small amount per deal. And she just handled my transactions. So I signed them up. She handled them. I was there to kind of do some of the stuff that, you know, I really wanted to be involved in, and she handled them. And then we brought in more listing agents to handle all of the listings. So now I'm able to step back from all of that and just work on the relationships where I can bring in massive amounts of deals for our agents to do all of that. And so that was kind of the process of building that out. And the way I was taught was your business earns the right to build out that org chart. So again, you grow the buyer business so big that you need to hire somebody in there. And now we've got a ton of people in those roles. And then your listing business needs to earn the right to get, you don't just have your assistant, but you have your assistant that's handling negotiating with agents, you know, handling just calls, you know, all of the other stuff with it, the weekly check-ins with the clients, all of that. Well, then your business earns the right to hire more listing agents. And that's just kind of that process of growing it out piece by piece by piece. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's helpful to hear how that goes from one solo agent to all of a sudden now you've got a team, you know, doing close to 600 units. That's how that happens, is one step at a time. And you're picking off this part of the business, this part, and this part. And now it goes from Chris, the solo agent, to Chris, the leader of the team that's doing a lot of stuff and having a lot of closings. And then the cool part is you're providing opportunities for them where they could go figure out how to do it themselves, but they'd rather be a part of what you're doing and be a part of that. And so you're giving them opportunities to continue to grow. So let's move on then and dig into the investment side. So you talked about how you knocked on doors of distressed properties. How did that then turn into your investment business that you have?
Yeah, sure. So people were going up for foreclosure left and right. So we're like, well, dang, you don't have to go to foreclosure, you know? And so the nutty thing was when I came back after the crash into this world, what I found out was that there wasn't a lot of people with a lot of equity, like in the early 2000s, right? Everybody had lost their equity. And when they were going to foreclosure, a lot of people, like, they just don't understand that world. So they're like, there's no short sales. The market's strong here, or banks know how to foreclose on people right away. And so, like, they don't last for years and years. I'm like, if you think that, you just haven't lived in this world enough, because I'll tell you, people know how to get auctions staved off, right? And so finally, when somebody calls and says, hey, I can help you live in your house for free. Oftentimes the bank will even give you money to move. And, we would buy these houses at short sale and, we were able to flip them. Well, the tough thing was, I think it was like and this was part of the reason, part of the transition in the like 2003, 2004 range, the banks changed their margins. So you could no longer buy short sales with big enough margins to flip, except here and there. And so we just started listing. Like, that's when we were just like, okay, we're just going to list all these, because we could not get the banks to sell at a low enough margin anymore. And so the listing business started there. But then we realized there's still always people out there that are in some sort of distress, or, my values are different from other people's values. Like, I'd like to get the most money for my house, but I also know there's people that they don't want the most money for their house. And that sounds like we're agents, right? That sounds anathema to me, right? Like, that sounds crazy. You're telling me people don't want the most money for their house? Yes, there are people out there that say, I don't want people coming through my house. I'll take this much money if you give me this. I'll tell you, I was at a kitchen table with a couple one time, and they were getting divorced, and the wife was given the right to sell the house. And she literally said, this guy is an SOB, and like just cussed him out left and right. And she's like, I get to decide how much we sell this house for. That's my thing. And you know what? Any dollar that we make, he gets half of. So I want to sell it at break even. Tell me what my break even number is, and I'll sign the contract right now. And I was like, holy crap, are you kidding me? And the husband was like, yep, I guess that's what she gets to do. And I was like, okay. So that's the whole thing. Just realizing there are people out there, and our job is to find them if you want to work with distressed people. And then you'll make a lot of money because you're solving their problem. Everybody thinks it's like the people that make the most money in the world are the people that solve other people's problems. And so that's that whole thing right there. And then on top of that, and this is what I actually have a class that I teach, that I put together this program where it's teaching agents in how to partner with investors, because investors are spending, I'll tell you, tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in your area every single month. Like, in every single area across the country, they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. And if they can't flip or wholesale or subject to those properties, they're literally just throwing those leads in the trash, throwing them away. And there's a huge, huge market for the agent and investor to come together and do a lot of business together on that front. So that's a big piece there. And then you'll find ways to do more business. The more you work in the investor world, the more opportunities will show up on your doorstep.
Mm-hmm. So then really for you, how did you get your first investment property? You just stumbled across the right opportunity and said, I'm going in. Was it you were looking at a certain area, or the right property showed itself? How did that first one start for you?
Okay, so the first flip, I still remember it. I literally pulled out the Washington Post and the classified ads, because that's what it said in this book. Like, I'm telling you, it's like a big, thick, paper-bound book. But I mean, it should have been hardback by the size of it. And I read it, and one of the things it said is go to the classified ads in your newspaper and find the trustee sales, which I did. And then I literally looked up where they were, and I just spent a Saturday driving around and knocking on doors. And this one guy comes to the door, and I remember it like it was yesterday, right? He comes to the door. It's a small little condo. And I was like, hey, I didn't know what to say. I'm like, hey, I understand your house is going to foreclosure. I'd like to, I've got some money. I'd love to stop it for you and fix it. And he's like, oh, shh. And he looks back, and like he's sitting there watching a movie with his girlfriend, I guess. I like didn't want whoever it was to know. He's like, let me give you my number. Call me in an hour. And so he like literally wrote down his number and handed it to me, open, like, because the door was open, but like had one of those like storm doors. Opened the storm door, hand me his number. And I thought he was like just trying to get me to leave or whatever. Called him in an hour, picked up, and he's like, dude, if I can get $5,000 for this place and not have it go to foreclosure, I'll get it done. And I looked at it, and the crazy thing is, I literally right at that time, did it, sold it, made $30,000 in no time, which was which was awesome. And I didn't have any idea what I was doing. So that was, that was the first of that deal. And then in 2008, right after the crash, I was working in ministry. I didn't have a retirement plan set up. I just didn't because of where we were. And so I thought to myself, I'm like, listen, my grandmother, who she had a ton of properties, was bringing in 17 grand a month from her properties. And, I looked at her properties and how she had built stuff through retirement. And I'm like, okay, this seems like a great retirement plan, but I live in the DC area. The first house I bought, it was 380. I'm like, I don't have that kind of cash. No, we had put together a lot of money and like saved and scrimped, and like I'd gotten some money together, and we were able to, and I think at the time they had like a 15% down loan or something like that. So it didn't require that much. And I got what I could get. And then honestly, I was just like, okay, I need to find somebody else. So I called everybody I knew with money. And it's crazy that I'm saying this because like, it sounds so ridiculous, but it was awesome. It was great. My first business partner in that was my mom. She's like, you know what? I'll invest in a property, because I'm like, listen, I know I can get renters here. I know we can rent it for positive cash flow. Let's do it. And the crazy thing is how we've adjusted the mortgage. I think it's like 5 years from now, that property is going to be paid off. And I think we bought it for 380. I think it'll be worth close to 600 at this point. It's nutty.
And going back to what you said about, people hire you to solve problems. You presented something to your mom about, here's how I can solve a problem. You currently are using your knowledge and experience of the real estate market with her money to help solve a problem for her, which is now she has an investment to make. And so you're doing the legwork, you're presenting it to her, but put yourself in her shoes. Hey, I know this, this, and this, and it's going to do this and this and this, and all we need is your money. Okay, great. Like who wouldn't want to say yes to that more easily than if you weren't in real estate and you didn't know anything about anything? So you were able to leverage your experience.
100%. And see, I always tell the story about this. Like if you find a deal, the money will show up. Like so many agents are so afraid to go out finding deals because they're like, I don't have the cash to do it. I'm like, listen, I'll tell you what, anybody that's out there that finds an amazing deal, if you find something amazing and you don't have anybody to buy it, look me up. Call me, I'll be your business partner. Like that's the whole deal. Like if you find the deal, the money will show up. One of my buddies said this story. He's like, he grabs his phone and he was like, okay, so this is $1,000 phone right here, right? They're like, but you probably have one too. If I were to say, hey, do you want to buy this phone? You probably say, I got a phone, I'm good, But if I were to say, hey, you want to buy it for $100? You'd probably say, dang, I'll buy it for $100 because you can immediately put it on eBay and sell it for $5, right? So at the end of the day, if you find the deal, the cash will show up. And I as much as I'm kind of joking, I'm also serious. If anybody's ever listening to this and they come across an amazing deal and they don't know what to do with it, find a way to get in touch with me because I'll do that. But I can tell you there's probably about 1,000 people like right now that are, will listen to this or be a part of stuff that would do the same thing that I would do. If you find the right deal, the cash will show up.
Mm-hmm. So then going back to your investment, then how do you decide? So right now you've got how many rental properties that you have?
So we have seven, and they're worth, the total of them is worth just over 4 million total. Now, a number of them are leveraged, have some on them, but most of the leverage is like we're less than 50% LTV on almost all of them at this point.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So then how are you making a decision in terms of a flip versus a hold?
Well, so for me, and the first thing that we would do, because I did a lot of ministry stuff, I went over to the local college and I just found like campus groups of students. And for this reason, so I've had 0 vacancies since 2008 in all of my properties over near George Mason University, which is the local university where I'm at, which Final Four a number of years ago. Come on, the one claim to fame. But the crazy thing is 0 vacancy. We're able to rent above market value because it's students in there, and every year 2 students will graduate and 2 new ones will move in. And that's the deal. It's awesome. And we chose to do the work with the Christian groups because of the fact that, I just don't want college keggers at my house every
Right.
weekend. And I know that like they'll still have parties and still have people over, but it's not going to be, man, I played rugby in college. Like I remember what those parties were like, and I don't want those parties at my house. So yeah, it turns out that it works out really, really well with us not having to do that. We're not paying not only the vacancy, but also the turnover cost, the maintenance cost. Because every time you have to paint it, you have to, redo carpets. Although I put, in all of our houses, we do like a high-end laminate because of the fact that like it's just cheaper than carpet. Like you just don't want to do carpet over and over again. But there's a number of little hacks that you can learn, and you should learn if you're going to do rentals at a high level on things that are durable and less work and less upkeep on it.
Mm-hmm. And then how many flips have you done?
Oh, I mean, if I look at all of them, probably maybe like 300, somewhere in that ballpark, if I'm guessing. Like, so I've done just a bunch. Some of those were wholesale, some of them were flips, some of them, like just a lot of deals over the years, since 2003. But it's, yeah, maybe not that much. Anyway, somewhere in that ballpark. But yeah, no, that's the whole thing is, you look at them, and I look at a number of those deals and I'm like, I needed the cash at the time, but I think it was short-sighted because in good areas, a flip is still just a transaction. It's a high-paying job. A rental property is something they'll pay forever. And just so you understand that, what I learned this lesson the hard way. I thought I was a pretty smart guy, and the fact that I sold my townhouse right before, when we bought the house we live in now, right before the crash. Well, the nutty thing is, I just sold another house in that neighborhood last month. I sold my townhouse for, I think it was $419 or $435, somewhere in that range. We literally just sold another house in that neighborhood for over $520 just last month. So as much, and that was before the biggest crash of our generation, of a lifetime. And now they're worth $100,000 more. And so you never see like a grandfather driving around being like, oh man, I'm so glad I sold that house 50 years ago. It'd be worth so much less now. It just doesn't happen. Real estate goes up in value. One of my favorite stories, my grandfather, who lives in North Arlington, if you know the DC area at all, or anybody comes to the DC area, it's one of the hottest suburbs of DC. It's crazy how expensive stuff is there. And my grandfather bought a house in North Arlington right after World War II for, I think it was like $6,000. And when my grandmother passed and we were working on the will and the estate and everything like that, everybody kept telling the story about my grandfather right after he bought the house, freaking out, telling everybody the bubble's going to burst. The market can't sustain these prices. $6,000, right? But we know that real estate is a hedge against inflation as well. And whatever's going on in the world with COVID and, all the other stuff, it's a hedge against inflation. So it's the best place we can put our money.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anything more that you want to say? So just kind of touching on, some of those other streams of income. So actually kind of going back to the conversation we had before about leverage. I like how you said, getting into your title company, insurance company, you're like, well, I've got a buddy, right? And so you're leading with a person. So it's not, here's Chris going to figure everything out by himself, but you're leveraging somebody else to go in business with you. Anything more you want to say in terms of leverage with some of those other streams?
Yeah, you just got to find the right people. Even the LegalShield piece, you find the people under you where you can sign up and you can leverage your network, and the people under you can take care of everything for you, but they're getting upside on that for taking care of the people in your network. So that's that whole thing. Whatever you're doing, you've got to find people to do it with you. Because if you do it yourself, honestly, I deserve to get fired from those clients because I just was doing too much myself. At some point, I don't care how talented you are. At some point, you run out of minutes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Any advice that you would give for people? So, maybe getting into real estate or maybe getting into investments, or pursuing some of these other streams of income. What advice would you give to people?
Yeah, I mean, if you're getting into real estate, buy your own property. Grant Cardone says the biggest problem with real estate agents is they don't buy their own product. Buy your own product. I was just saying, like, I am smoked right now. One of the girls on our team just one of the agents on our team last week just bought his first property. One of the girls on our team closes on her property on Wednesday and asked me and a couple of the other guys, I've got a pretty big truck, and asked us to move a piano for her. And as much as I didn't want to do any moving work at this point, I'm like also just so proud of the folks on our team for doing that. So yeah, just buy your own real estate. If you're looking to get into an investment, I mean, this is the one thing I'd say for real estate or investing. Find a mentor. Find somebody you like their vibe. Find somebody you're listening to. Like there's so many coaches where you're paying for all the other stuff that they're doing, and that's fine. I mean, I pay over $100,000 a year for the different coaches I have. So paying for coaches is great, but also find some mentors, some people that, for me, I would listen to massive amounts of podcasts when I was getting started, and I just reach out to the people that I really, really liked. And honestly, the crazy thing is they're willing to get on the phone with you. Like some of the top people in the world are still willing to get on the phone with you if you just ask. But here's the thing. I also implemented everything I was told to do because this is what I also learned is if you get on the phone with somebody who's really good at what they do and they tell you to do something and then you get on the phone again and you didn't do it, they're never going to give you their time again. And you don't deserve it. You don't deserve their time again. So that's it. Find those people that are really good, that you like their vibe. See if you can get on the phone with them, and then do what they tell you. Don't overthink it. Don't think you're smarter. Until you're doing what they're doing, trust what they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Awesome, cool. Anything more that you want to add?
No, I mean, I would just say it all boils down to activity and skill, right? If you are not making the kind of money you want to make, you're probably not talking to enough people, and two, you're probably not working to skill up the way that you need to skill up. Your life and business will grow to the extent that you grow. My wife asked me this a couple of years ago, and I think that this was one of the ways that we just grew massively was when she just said, Chris, I don't know anybody out there that pays the price that you pay for education. And she's like, both in terms of dollars, and she's like, literally, like, all your downtime, you're reading, you're listening, you're studying. She's like, does your team know how much you do? And she's like, I know you teach them, but does your team and those around you know the price you pay for that? And I was like, I don't think I did. And when I started like making sure they understood the amount of hours that I put in to getting better, all of a sudden, as a leader, people will follow, but they didn't know I wasn't leading them well. I wasn't teaching them what I was doing. And so when they started putting in hours like I was putting in to grow and be better, then all of a sudden our team just exploded. It like blew up like in a good way. And so yeah, I would just say, make sure that you're investing in yourself. Make sure you're spending tons of time. If you're not spending, I think at minimum half an hour a day, but I personally, there's not a day that goes by where I don't have at least an hour a day that I am investing in myself.
Anything that you want to plug. So your businesses, how do folks get hold of you? Anybody watching this looking to buy or sell in the DC area, feel free, plug what you want to plug.
Yeah, sure. So we got our Facebook group, the Uncommon Real Estate group. We've got our, and there's a podcast, Uncommon Real Estate, with our podcast. Love to have you there. My class, the Teaching Agents and Investors How to Partner Together, chriscraddock.com. You can go there, sign up for that, and we can get you information on that. And yeah, just reach out, DM me on Instagram, and it's at Craddock, CRADDROCK. And yeah, I'll tell you, if I can do anything to serve or help anybody out here, I'll tell you that's, I would love to do it. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much. We appreciate having you on today. And thank you so much for your time.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks, brother. I appreciate it.
All right.